Okay, this is going to be a real short and sweet one, but I did want to give you a chance to review a little bit what we did in Chapter 5. I did put the test together, and I think it's going to be pretty reasonable. I know there's a lot of harder stuff that we did in the homework and such, but I try to come up with things that are going to be pretty fair and reasonable. Just want to run through real quickly. The first thing that we really looked at were these things called the fundamental identities. And those are that first page I gave you that were actually kind of easy to work with, kind of like the co-angles, the Pythagorean identities, the reciprocal identities. I'm not really interested in the co-angles as much, but Pythagorean identities for sure, and the reciprocals you're going to want to definitely be able to work with. Section 2, we looked at how to prove identities. And in that grouping, I would include simplify. So I'll ask you a couple times to, here's an expression, simplify this expression to its simplest form, or easily you could be asked to prove an identity. And certainly on the final, you're probably going to be asked to do a proof of an identity. But I've looked at it, and they're not the most difficult ones. They're pretty straightforward, and ones you should be able to review a little bit and feel pretty comfortable about. Section 3 was the trig equations. And I'm not sure how you all are feeling about that. It's a pretty big skill for not just this course, but for moving on to calculus as well. So I do want you to feel pretty comfortable solving equations. Obviously, you're going to use some of the identities to simplify the equations you're going to solve. So that's a little bit of a practice of working with identities as well. But just remember the difference between all solutions versus this thing you'll see where it goes from 0 to 2 pi, but doesn't include 2 pi. So this right here is one time around the circle. This should be all solutions. So you're going to be like adding 2 pi n or add pi n or some sort of multiple of the period. So I think it's pretty safe to say this will be a fairly decent part of the of your test coming up. Continuing on, we had sections 4 and 5, and this was all identities. So I'm just going to kind of run down my list. I've got sum and difference. I think that was section 4. So that's cosine of a plus b, cosine of a minus b, and so on. Then we have double and half. This is now getting into section 5. We have the squared identities. And we have the product to sum and sum to product. I think what I want you to anticipate and prepare for here is going to be a task of simplifying. So I'll give you, like a sum or difference, or I give you one angle, find the tangent of 2x, for example. So any one of these, the main focus there is going to be on simplifying these using your identities. And of course, I'm going to let you use all of your identities you have written out. You can use the unit circle too if you feel like you need it. I really would kind of hope at this point you don't need the unit circle, but I know some of you might not have as much confidence still as you would like there to be. So that's what it's going to come down to. There's 10 questions on the test. Some have multiple parts, yeah, because it'd be like, simplifying. There's going to be 3 or 4. There's a couple of mini bonus questions built in throughout the test, but I think you're going to find it pretty manageable. Shoot for an hour. If you need go a little bit longer, you can as well. I will try to have this posted by Friday, and I'd like you to have that test submitted back to me, completed and submitted by Monday. So I'll just say posted Friday, due Monday. Okay, then Tuesday we'll start in on some niche stuff, and I think I got a couple surprises in store for you, so I hope you like it. All right, good luck. Talk soon.